Hi, this is Tutor Nick P, and this is Word Origins 160. The word origin today is old fogey. Okay, let's take a look at the note here. If someone calls another person an old fogey, it is used as a derogatory, kind of a negative way, mostly, term to mean that a particular person has excessively old-fashioned ideas. It is more often used with men, and especially people who are old. So it could be used with women, but usually the women would have to be old as well. However, sometimes it is used in a light teasing way. You're just an old fogey. Kind of in a cute way. It could be used that way too. But it is definitely, when it's spoken seriously, it's derogatory. Okay, let's continue. The origin dates back to 1785. It first appeared in a book called The Classified Dictionary of the Vulgar Tongue by Francis Gross. At that time, it was a nickname for an invalid soldier who was too old or too injured for active service. So an invalid, probably they damaged one of their limbs. Maybe they lost an arm or a leg or something like that, and they really couldn't be a real soldier anymore. Some of these men were sent out to find new recruits, new soldiers. Okay. The word fogey derived from the French word foguo, maybe fogue. Yeah, probably fogue. For like fogey, meaning fierce or fiery. Yeah, well, maybe, they survived still. They must have been pretty tough when they were still a soldier. Eventually, this word evolved into someone who is just old and has out-of-touch ideas, like these ideas are no longer modern or they don't really apply to our modern times. That's the way it's still used today. If we say that somebody's an old fogey in that sense, we think their ideas are too traditional, and they don't really fit in with the modern times. Out of touch, sometimes in the 1800s. Okay, in the 1980s in the UK, so this is mostly a British use. The term young fogey started to be used in regard to young conservative-minded youths who supported Margaret Thatcher. So they started calling them young fogies because their way of thinking was very traditional, like their parents or grandparents, something like that. So there is the term young fogey too in British English. Okay, and we just have 3 examples to cover these here. Here's the first one. Her parents are not open-minded. They are a couple of old fogies. Okay, so that's just the way you might say it. Number 2 here. Don't be such an old fogey. Nobody thinks like that anymore. That's just the way you might hear it. Again, this is probably somebody who has very traditional ideas and doesn't approve of something that might be happening in the modern time that maybe the youth doesn't think is a big deal. All right, and number 3. When I was young, I used to be annoyed by old fogies, but through time and life experience, I turned into one, and now have more respect for them, or newfound respect for them. Okay, anyway, I hope you got it. I hope it was clear. I hope it was informative. Thank you for your time. Bye bye.